What if it doesn't work? I already spent so much money and time on programs and working with people that it didn't work in the end. How do I know that it'll work this time? This is a question that I get all the time from people who call me and are interested in my programs. So I would like to address this very natural and human fear of making the wrong decision, and especially if that fear rests on maybe some wrong decisions that were in the past. So I'd like to talk about that. Let's say somebody is thinking about spending money on really on a program for food addiction. Okay. For example, these people who come and are worried because they've spent a lot of money, maybe on diets, maybe even working like with therapists or what have you to try to get to the bottom of emotional eating or things like that, and it hasn't worked for them. And now they see something new, a a food addiction counselor who is treating their problem with overeating, especially when it's these sugary, starchy, hyper processed foods, as an addiction, like being addicted to cigarettes or alcohol or drugs, which is the way I treated my overeating and finally found a solution and had trained, and self-educated and researched this field and have become one of the international leaders in this field, because this is a solution that another kind of solution that for many pain people who other things haven't worked, this works. But people come with a very justified and natural fear that they've tried many things before, and how do they know that this is going to work? And that's a really legitimate question and a legitimate fear. So I'd like to address this fear, especially if you are in a situation, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a situation of whether you're thinking if you should join a program or work with somebody on food addiction. Maybe there's something else in your life that you're thinking that maybe you should do it, or some problem that you have that you think you need to work on, and maybe you need some outside help, and it means investing time and money and whatever else it is, if the investment is, of yourself, and you don't know what to do. But what happens if it didn't work in the end? What happened if you decided to do that and you spent all this time and money and effort and it didn't work? So let's think about, I always tell people my suggestion is to think about the alternatives, right? What are the pros and cons of each alternative? Basically, in a situation like this, for example, when somebody is interested in working with me on food addiction, there's three alternatives. If we could say that there are three alternatives that face them in this situation like this. The first alternative is not to do anything, right? I'll quote Dr. Robert Lustig, who I love quoting because he has so many smart things to say. But he says the worst decision that you can make is not to do anything, is inaction. That's the worst decision you can make. Then it is an absolute lose-lose. You have absolutely nothing to gain by continuing to do what you did till now, if it's especially if it comes to eating behaviors, if it's getting you in the direction of obesity or diabetes, God forbid, right? Or hypertension or whatever metabolic diseases, or it's making you miserable. So not doing anything certainly isn't going to change. It's just going to make things worse. It's not going to make anything better. The second alternative is that someone did something and it ended up that they made the wrong decision, that it didn't work, right? That could happen. But usually they've gained something from it and they've already done the action. But then you think about that alternative, that maybe like I took action and made a decision, but in the end it didn't work as the way I thought it would, versus I took action, made a decision, but it did work. And then we have to think, like, what do you have to lose here versus what do you have to gain here? So if somebody, let's say, decides to work with a professional for food addiction, okay, or join a program or whatever it is, make a major change in their life, right? If they did it and in the end they made the wrong decision, so yeah, they lost maybe some time and money and effort. And I get it. Like, you know, this idea of like, I tried something and it didn't work is not fun. That sense of failure, right? But if it does work, what if this is the time that it worked? This is the time that it changed your life, that it made you into a different, transformed you and your relationship with food and made you think completely differently about how you eat and who you are with food and your relationship with food. And it changed your life and made a decision. Isn't what you stand to gain so, so much more than what you stand to lose? And if you don't make that decision, then what do you stand to lose? Your health, God forbid, your vitality, your energy, your quality of life. So I always say, you know, it's very important when we think about these things and we recognize that fear, and it's a fear that should be recognized and respected. But having said that, it's always good to look at it really as, what do I have to lose versus what do I have to gain? And I always, you know, somebody, let's say, who, I don't know, is a heavy smoker. And, you know, statistics research shows that statistically, um, people who stopped smoking for good tried on an average 8 times, right? So somebody who smokes and tried to quit and went back to smoking and tried to quit again and went back to smoking, does that mean, let's say if they, I don't know, they tried to quit and they didn't manage 2, 3 times, does that mean they should quit trying to quit? Does that mean they should just, I don't know, give up and live with the fact that, you know, they're going to die probably of the diseases that smoking causes? Or should they try again and try again until they finally get that one that hits? And that's what I say to people also about food addiction. Okay. If you've tried a program and it didn't work, well, yeah, that sucks. I agree. But at least you tried something. And I'm sure that any program that anyone has done, they've gained something from it. Not doing anything, you gain zero. But when you do, and it did hit, and you did find that this is the one that helped you, you have your whole life to gain, your quality of life, your energy, your vitality, your sense of well-being, your sense of accomplishment, of empowerment, that now you are the one in control of what you are eating or whatever it is, that situation that's problematic for you. So this is my message to you. If you are, you know, thinking about giving up, don't give up. Keep trying, even if it's the 100th program that you've tried. Keep trying, because if you keep trying, you have that chance to find the one that will actually work for you. I recommend always it should be something that sits true with you from within. You hear the person talking and you say, yes, I agree with that person. Yes, what they're saying sits well with me. It's somebody that you know is trained and is a professional and is somebody that you know comes well recommended. So this is my message to you. Never give up. Never say, I guess I'm just not able to do that. Always, if there is something that is harming your quality of life, your health, your sense of well-being, then keep trying to get to that and get help, because many times it's hard to do it alone. But even if you've tried to get help and it hasn't worked, that doesn't mean that there's still that, then it just means that that program or that person or that professional or whatever it is, that support group, it's still out there for you to find. Do not give up. So this is my message for you today. Have a wonderful evening, a great afternoon. Don't forget to sign up to my YouTube channel and also check out all the wonderful offers I have here in the description to this video. And I will see you next week on Monday, 7 p.m. This is Sippy Livnet, registered nurse and certified food addiction counselor. And I'll see you next week on Sippy Live.